Welcome aboard the news review segment, and I have two gentlemen joining me in the studio. I know earlier we told you that we have three guests, and when he gets here, we introduce him to you. But to start with, we have Dr. Pogre Boakye-Dankwa. He's government spokesperson on energy, government and security, governance and security. We also have Kwame Nkrumah-Botuo. He's not here, but we also have lawyer, or should I say barrister Philemon La from the NDC communications team. Happy now?
Yeah, I mean, the people of my constituency are grateful.
For, need to know that you're a barrister. It helps with the politics. But let's get straight into it. I'll come to you for your thoughts before we get into the newspapers. Dr. Pogre Boakye-Dankwa, what's on your mind this morning?
A few days to election.
64.
2024. That the Ghanaian people would vote for the future, that would consider Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia as the credible candidate, a man of integrity, a man of vision, a man you can trust to be able to lead and steer the affairs of Ghana from 2025. My thoughts really are a good leader that we need, who cares for the people genuinely, who wants to assist, who wants to see that Ghana progresses, who wants to see that we have all the essentials that we need for a developing country. And my vote is for none other than Alhaji Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And I recommend him to the Ghanaian people, the budding young people, that their vote as well and good conscience should direct them to the number one on the ballot on the 7th of December 2024.
Doc, would you have, I mean, it's implied that your vote is, of course, for Dr. Bawumia because you speak for the government, you speak for the party. And I heard you say sometime that you're not a politician. Was that last time I think Ben and I were on the news review together? You said something and you said you are not a politician. About how politicians...
I don't
recall
that. But right. You know, once I have stood on the ticket of the party for primaries, yes. I'm a politician fully.
Oh, well.
And let me greet my constituents, the good people of Achimegbuakwa North constituency. I greet you all this morning.
Let's proceed. Barrister Philemon La, you have your 1.5 minute, 2 minute take.
Very well. I think that it's important for us to describe this government for what it is. What it is because in just a space of a few months, 3 months basically, organized labor has had to hold this government by its balls, by the threat of a shutdown. When they did that the first time, the president and his government ran into oblivion. They chased them into submission. And today, organized labor again is holding this government to its balls. It speaks to the fact that this government has been a monumental failure, that organized labor would use a nationwide shutdown as the panacea to get this government to listen. Because whenever we make cries to this government, they do not listen. It takes the threat of a shutdown for this government to heed. Galamsey has threatened us that it is even possible that the water, sweetie, you bathed with this morning may have had some doses of mercury. That's how dangerous it's become. And yet this government has been quiet about that. Its ministers are complicit in Galamsey. Alhaji Bawumia has not had the balls, the effrontery, the patriotism, the love for country to speak about this.
All right, so...
Galamsey is real. And the people of this country are rising up against that. Just like the youth of this country are out on the streets this morning, demonstrating against this Akufo-Addo Bawumia government because of their monumental failure. That's on my mind. We are coming on board as an NDC to proffer better, lasting solutions to save the people of this country. Yeah,
we're starting hot, huh? But Dr. Pogre Boakye-Dankwa, let me ask you one simple question. Has the government, and you speak for the government, has the government seen the outpour of reaction towards the state of our water bodies, and what is the response of the president, the vice president, and flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party for the December 7th elections? What are they saying about it? You speak for them, so what is the message?
You know, sweetie, yesterday, I'm aware that before organized labor brought out their statement that they were calling for a nationwide strike, I was on PM Express to state that I'm very certain that government will give a very favorable response, and I'm confident.
Well,
yes, that was on 2 days ago, that government will give a favorable response. Yesterday at about 9 o'clock in the morning, the president, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, together with some ministers prior to cabinet beginning, met with the leaders of organized labor and had some very good conversations with them, and I'm aware that this morning organized labor is going to be discussing the fallouts of their meeting with the president. At cabinet yesterday as well, Galamsey conversations were very key on how we can be able to address that. And I'm happy that this morning on the news center page, water bodies are beginning to get cleaner in some parts of central region.
Are they?
Yes, very much so. I mean, Ghana Water Company.
The reason I asked what
Ghana
the
Water
message
Company
is,
Limited has been able to state that.
We'll get into that in a bit.
We would get into that.
So the reason I asked, probably hold for me. The reason I asked what the message is from the government, from the president and the vice president, is when you were giving us your submission, you talked about good leadership. I was in a room at the GJA Awards when the president of GJA spoke quite passionately about Galamsey. And when the president mounted the stage, not a word. Has the president actually said anything? And this isn't something that is just happening right now. Galamsey has been a topical issue for as long as I can remember. He himself put his presidency on the line. What has he said, tweeted, written, a statement in response to say that, okay, Ghana 4, I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're trying to communicate. Has the president said anything? Has he been able to, give us that respect that as a good leader, I hear what my citizens are saying? Has he been able to do that? And why hasn't he been able to do that yet?
The entire country is represented in blocks. This country is represented in blocks. And so the president met with organized labor. That's a good block that shows good leadership.
Okay.
The president did not ignore the issues that organized labor is raising, that the president should call for a state of emergency, that the president should revoke the LI that gives licenses to small-scale mining, that the president should call for smaller courts to be set up so that they can expedite illegal mining cases in courts. The president has not ignored that. So very clearly, good leadership is where the president, having seen that organized labor is threatening the nationwide strike, 2 hours before cabinet, president meets with them at 9 o'clock. That's good leadership, very clearly.
He had to take that.
No, it didn't have to take that. It didn't have to take that. But you see, the government does not work in isolation of the citizenry. The government works in sync of the citizenry. And when I state that the works that President Nana Danko Akufo-Addo has done from 2017 till date, and I give a grand scheme of the efforts, and I give a grand scheme of the impact in terms of the mining value chain and the revenue that we have been able to underscore. I mean, clearly, people don't want to hear that. But that's the truth. From 2017, the president has been talking about mining, has been talking about illegal mining, has been talking about people moving away from water bodies. And I'm glad that this morning, the water bodies are getting cleaner in Central Region.
And this morning, citizens are pouring out on the streets, demanding the release of people who, in the interest of the country, went out to say that we are peacefully protesting. There were some isolated incidents that caused, or the police tried to limit the spread of violence and all that. But there are people pouring out on the streets as we speak. And so did it have to get here? It's the question for the president to meet organized labor. And Philemon, I'll come to you in a bit before we get into the newspapers.
People have their right to demonstrate. When you demonstrate, I always call for civil and responsible demonstration. I don't call for people who demonstrate and cause public havoc and prevent people from going along their ordinary duties. There's a Public Order Act. And I'm glad that when the police granted these new demonstrators who are demonstrating for 3 days and is ending tomorrow all the way from Otonglo to the stadium, I'm glad that the police reminded them that in the course of your demonstration, be minded about the fact that there's a Public Order Act. And if you cause any havoc to the ordinary running of the country, you would face the law. And I'm not sure that we want to have a country where rules and regulations do not work. You saw what happened.
Yet there are people in custody.
Absolutely. The people that are in custody, there are clear reasons to that. They violated the Public Order Act.
We have to work within time. Philemon, I know you have some reaction. I'll give you a minute and a half, and then we get into the newspapers.
I think that maybe he failed. I want to say he refused to answer the question of why the president did not directly respond to the GJA president. You are invited by the journalists, the inky profession, the fourth estate of the realm. They put a direct message to you, Mr. President. Address the issue of Galamsey. You have the opportunity to address GJA journalists and the whole country, and you are quiet. What message does that send? Mind you, prior to the GJA event, organized labor had given the president an ultimatum act within a period on Galamsey. Otherwise, we'll strike. Yet again, the president, Bawumia, they did nothing about that. Upon the expiration of that timeline, organized labor declares a date for a strike. Only for the president to now call them and say, oh, you know, my economy is so bad now, if you go on a strike, it's going to further sink the economy. I mean, what kind of excuse is that? You have failed. You are telling the people of Ghana that because you have failed, if they go on a strike, your failure will be much more. I mean, that's the most lazy approach you can take to this.
Okay, Philemon, I'm sure we'll get back. We'll circle back here because, of course, Galamsey is the most topical. Yeah, I want you to wrap on your thoughts for me in a couple of seconds.
I think that
I want us to get into the newspapers. There are a lot of newspapers.
Comparing the time you gave me and what you gave...
Because I was asking questions. I was giving you time to reflect. Yeah. Should we get into the newspapers? Or you want to land?
I hope you give.
Okay, so I'll give you time. I'll start with the Daily Graphic. On the front page, motorway street lights vanish. Abracadabra. KNUST, UEW, UGBS for tertiary business sense challenge finale. Blame prosecutors for delayed Galamsey cases. I was listening to that blame game going on between AG, the Chief Justice, and all that about who should be blamed, who should really take responsibility for protesters still in police custody. ADB wins big at CIMG Customer Satisfaction Week. Eurobond investors forgive Ghana $5 billion debt. Let's start with the vanishing of motorway street lights, shall we? Almost all the street lights that were installed on the 19-kilometer Accra-Tema motorway have vanished after 3 years. A Daily Graphic team recently observed that many of the street lights and posts installed in 2021 along the stretch have disappeared, while the few remaining posts are damaged. The disappearance of the street lights has left authorities struggling to explain their whereabouts. Hence the name disappeared, vanished. Despite the numerous public institutions involved in the project, none could provide the reasons for the missing street lights, with the Ghana Highway Authority, the Ministry of Roads and Highways, and the Ministry of Energy pointing fingers at each other. Gentlemen, this isn't just an Accra-Tema highway issue. I leave my home around 4:30 latest every day, and sometimes it's such a struggle to just drive through these streets of Accra to get to work. If you're not careful and there's an oncoming vehicle who also wants to see, because there are no lights on the street, and they shine their highlights, you'd have to either pause or you might hit someone. It is so dark. I'm talking about just that, is it called Ring Road or so, from before you get to Labadi after GBC, all that stretch. Nothing, there's nothing there. Government spokesperson, what say you? What's happening on our streets?
You know, I am as concerned as you are concerned. I'm concerned that I know that we have a responsibility to protect infrastructure that governments invest in. There are some irresponsible Ghanaians who, after government has implemented some very good flagship programs, like maybe street lights and making sure that our lights are working on the streets, which we pay for with our taxes, people go, and often you would find that they are either removing the bulbs or people are driving recklessly and hitting the poles and all of that. We need to be a lot more vigilant to ensure that these people who are either destroying the street lights or driving recklessly and running into street lights are paying for those costs. Because I think that we need a lasting solution to it, because it affects every other person. It affects pedestrians, it affects drivers, it affects motorists, and it's not safe. It causes a lot of accidents on the streets, and we've lost we've lost people's lives, really, over the years, because our streets have not been lighted enough. And often when even vehicles get spoiled on the road and the visibility of it, I mean, people don't even put their triangles. And if you're driving very late in the night, you can easily bump into one. So the required stakeholders and the required authorities should really look into this.
So the required stakeholders should really look into this, from Dr. Pogre Bachidankwa. Barrister Philemon La, what do you say? And the story is saying that the three main, institutions responsible for this are pointing accusatory fingers at each other. That's the Ghana Highway Authority, the Ministry of Roads and Highways, and the Ministry of Energy, pointing fingers. So nobody can explain where the street lights have gone in.
No, but you see, basically, everything the people of this country have entrusted into this NPP government has been mismanaged. From the economy to agriculture to finance, everything has been mismanaged. On the specific issue of demolition or theft of streetlights, I am aware that this government told the people of this country that they had invested so much in installing cameras, security cameras, all across the streets of Accra. That is something the MPP sought to take glory for. They said they had spent Ghana money to install cameras all around. And the logical conclusion is that if you've invested monies in installing cameras, then there should be a center somewhere where you can see what happens to what on the streets. That's the logical conclusion. So what is the Ghana Police telling us? What is Alhaji Bawumia telling us as chairperson of the Ghana Police Council? What is he telling us? That the monies he invested or spent, supposedly, in installing cameras on the streets of Accra was waste, and that you have spent money for which you cannot even track its usage? So when we talk about the incompetence and failure of the MPP government, this is another example, another clear example. Because you can't spend the resources of this country and not produce results. And at the end of the day, you come back and, in fact, just I think a few days ago, he went ahead to pledge again that he was going to spend Ghana's money again into procuring 50,000 cameras. There are already 100,000 you produced. Now, what have you done with it? You've not been able to do anything. Crime is on the rampage. Things are happening on the streets, and the police will tell you, look, I have a friend of mine who parked his car just by the road at a parking spot. Someone walked into his car and drove off. When he went to the police asking for them to check the camera to be able to track who did that, the police said the camera wasn't working.
Is that why you say
it's not working?
You cannot say that they are all useless.
Sweetie,
whatever it's worth, there are some cameras working that can capture.
You see, the problem in this country, are those who want to sugarcoat the truth. And the truth is that you, sweetie, you drive on the road all the time. You know the problems on the road. God forbid, if anything happens on that road to you, for which we need video evidence, for which Ghana's money has been spent in installing cameras, there will be no evidence to support you.
I cannot agree with you.
That's the point.
Because I need to actually check to be sure that the cameras are not working.
I am telling you as a matter of fact, because on the issue of streetlights,
your experience as that, I just want you to clarify.
When there's evidence before you, you still want to evade the evidence. The evidence is that streetlights, something is happening to our streetlights, whether they are being stolen,
in fact,
I've just been told,
Philip, I've just been told in the back room that someone attested that the cameras are working.
So
that's why you cannot say that the cameras are working.
That's an opinion someone is sharing.
Exactly, same as you are sharing an opinion.
I am giving you a police report on the fact that the police have said that they could not procure video evidence to support a particular. Now, if the cameras are working, by your allegation that the cameras are working,
that's not true.
Then the cameras should be able to tell us that the street lights that are being destroyed or stolen, we know who are stealing it. That's not true. If it's working, then you know who is stealing the street lights. That's not true. Not so, sweetie.
Let's get into
it. If the cameras are working, you should see who is stealing the street lights. Is that not so?
Pogif says that's not
Answer
true.
the question. Is that not so? It is so.
I asked the question.
If the cameras are working, catch who are those.
If the cameras are working, why can't we catch these criminals who are destroying lives by, removing street lights on the roads, on our streets?
Sweetie, I think that there is a grand scheme, really, by the NDC to state that every single thing that the government of President Nana Danko Akufo-Addo is doing has not yielded the necessary impact and results. If the NDC takes a position like that, they don't appreciate the grand scheme of what governance entails. The government set out to install over 100,000 CCTV cameras at major intersections and road networks in the country. One, to be able to combat crime. Two, to be able to have strong visibility on the road, and also to be able to recall issues that happen. You recall when there was a bungalow van attack, the CCTV camera was immediately pulled for the Ghanaian people to be able to appreciate what happened. And so really, I'm at a sea when I hear my good brother state that the cameras are not working. We can't sit on a national platform and state that the 100,000 CCTV cameras are not working.
So some are faulty.
It's not some.
His experience. We cannot underplay what he experienced with the police.
We work with evidence in this country.
Right.
Do you understand?
If they are working, those that are stealing the street lights. Because the cameras should see them.
I work with the security apparatus. Sweetie, all our 100,000 CCTV cameras that we have installed are all working. I can invite the NDC.
I'm saying that we would have to confirm that for ourselves.
Yes,
we cannot say that because he has a different experience.
I can invite the NDC to come to the control room and have a look at all the CCTV cameras that are working.
All right, so two quick stories that are very important, and then we'll get into other things. So Eurobond investors have forgiven us $5 billion debt. That comes as good news to us, does it not? If we've been forgiven $5 billion. Let me get into this. So Ghana's Eurobond restructuring efforts has gained significant traction, with over 98% of investors participating in the country's consent solicitation. The Minister of Finance, Dr. Amin Adam, has announced the debt treatment yielded a 37% reduction in the nominal value of Ghana's debt, equivalent to $5 billion dollars forgiveness. So 4.3 billion in debt service saving during the International Monetary Fund program. Let me add this story about blame prosecutors so that we can, work within time. So blame prosecutors for delayed Galamsey cases, according to the Chief Justice. And the Chief Justice, Gertrude Tokunosaki, has said the delay in the determination of Galamsey cases emanates from the work of prosecutors and not the bench. And in a swift rebuttal to a call by the Attorney General and Minister of Defense, Godfrey Aboadami, regarding the slow pace of such cases in courts, Chief Justice said, quote, "On the issue of delays in Galamsey cases, the Attorney General will acknowledge that our engagements have shown that the delays emanate from the work of the prosecutors." And she provided the response during her remarks at last Wednesday's annual meeting of the Association of Magistrates and Judges, Ghana. On the back page, we have Garmanche to Grace Homo War in the United Kingdom, Carbank NSS personnel renovate school building at Adenta, and many other stories. Pick one for yourself and get into that. Doc, we've been forgiven $5 billion. Good news? Obviously good news.
There's a lot of good news in this government.
Yeah.
Sweetie. And I'm glad that the Minister for Finance, the Honorable Amin Ada, has been working very hard. And, the backbench, there's one paragraph in the news center that I would just like to read. It says that the successful Eurobond debt exchange is a critical component of Ghana's broader debt restructuring efforts under its ongoing program, which we have with the IMF. When we set out to restructure our debts, there was a clear mandate and a clear mind around it that we would be able to have some relief. And this comes at the backbench of a hard-working government, that our debts that we have had over the years, when we sought to restructure it so that we can be able to have a good equilibrium between our debts and between our GDP and all of what we do, clearly to see that this has happened is a good milestone. And it tells you that the economy is recovering. It tells you that the economy is bouncing back stronger. It tells you that goods and services are going to come down. It tells you very much that the Ghanaian people are continually pleased with the hard work of the government. And I'm glad with this, that $5 billion of our debt has been relieved, and we have achieved this through about 37% reduction in nominal value of Ghana's debt. Sweetie, there's a lot more successes on the road.
Okay.
Sweetie, I wonder why you'd call this success. Success by a government that famously...
Before you go on, if you were owing me 10 million Ghana,
and I forgive you.
And I forgive you. I said,
how is that your excellence?
Will you not be happy?
No.
Come on,
how is that your excellence? The fact of the matter is that this government declared that Ghana beyond 8. Ghana beyond 8. That was their bold declaration. Today, you are glorifying, you are trying to take credit for someone forgiving you for your debt. What they can? You owe.
No, but we
and
don't.
Those that you owe are saying that we forgive you. How is that to your benefit? How does that show excellence? It shows incompetence. They have seen you cannot pay. So better to... That's why they say if your friend comes to borrow money from you, don't expect to take the money back. It's a clear example. You don't have the competence to pay back, and they are forgiving you. It's not because of any excellent economic skills of this government that has led to this. It's just the fact that they are incompetent. But you see, on the issue of what the Chief Justice has said, that blame the prosecutors. That is it. The court would not act on anything if there's no prosecution. I have said time without number that this government has sanctioned the arrest and incarceration of the protesters, because nowhere does the Attorney General go to the circuit court on misdemeanors. The practice is that the Attorney General mandates the police to prosecute on behalf of the Attorney General on issues of misdemeanors in the circuit court. But on the issue of the protesters, it was curious that Godfrey Dame, Attorney General, sent lawyers from the Attorney General's office to go to court. And you know what they did in court? When we, lawyers for the protesters, were moving our bail applications, that they will stand trial, they will be available and support the police with the investigation, lawyers from Attorney General opposed the bail applications and said, Judge, put them in. We do not support the fact that they should be set free and that they will come to court whenever you call them. Put them in Sawam. That was what the lawyers did in court. And today, the Attorney General wants us to believe that he's a Minister of Justice. Attorney General wants the people of Ghana to believe that he's a fair-minded person and that he's not being instructed by Akufo-Addo and Bawumia to ensure that innocent protesters, including a pregnant woman, including people who, let me make a point, including people that were
Ghana Police Service.
You trust the Ghana Police Service at your own peril.
Facts, Philemon.
What
Ghana
facts?
Police
Because
Service
Ghana Police Service, I am a lawyer.
Two tests.
I have a fiduciary relationship with my clients. Do you know the conferences I had with my clients? Do you know the conferences I had with my clients? I am speaking in my capacity as someone who's representing the protesters. You blame the Ghana Police Service at your own peril. It's not the same Ghana Police Service who killed innocent people in Asawasi and claimed they were armed robbers, only for a report to find out that Philemon, the Ghana Police Service lied.
See, it's a political it's a politically charged crime.
Because innocent citizens are in jail.
Speak to facts.
I am speaking to facts.
I get the point you are making.
And the fact of the matter is that you cannot trust the Ghana Police Service.
And the fact of the
matter is... There's evidence.
Hold on 1 second. The fact of the matter is pregnancy is not something that we can contest whether or not...
Has the police service brought the person out for an independent...
Two
Has
tests.
the police brought the person out for an independent test? Has the police done that? I'm saying that the credibility of the police is in tatters because they killed innocent people in Asawasi and called them armed robbers. And when we went into the back of the story, we realized that the Ghana Police Service lied. And this is the Ghana police you want to support. When your brothers and sisters are in jail this morning, they are in jail, not fed by the police, treated wrongly, incarcerated, just because they are asking that Galamsey be stopped. And yet Alhaji Bawumia, Akufo-Addo have refused to act on it.
Okay,
we
so
should all be sad about that.
Thank you.
We should condemn Akufo-Addo.
I'll come back to my two papers, but I want to get into your papers. I know you have some quick reflections on what he said, and then you can walk us through your newspaper. That's the News Center, I think.
You know, sweetie, we can't continue to do this to ourselves in this country. Let's be very honest and let's be very real. You know, we have a country to protect and we have people to govern. We want to be able to develop this country. If the biggest opposition party condemns every state institution, I don't know where we are going to go from here. If the NDC sits on a platform like the multimedia platform and says that you cannot trust the Ghana Police Service.
That's a fact. There's evidence.
Sweetie.
There are several instances of the Ghana Police Service.
I gave you your time. He's speaking now.
Several examples.
He's speaking now.
When the opposition party sits on a national platform and says you cannot trust the police, it's a very serious statement.
It is.
And it's scary because it means that no one can even trust the opposition party. Because we work with the police. Ghanaians engage the police. There are people who have seen the very good work that the Ghana Police Service is doing. We have peace in this country because the internal security is strong. And so I find it very troubling that La would be here to state that you cannot trust the police. Yesterday in a conversation that I was having with a group of people, trust is the bedrock of every society. And so I wish that he substantiates his claim with a lot more facts and evidence. He's a lawyer. He should substantiate that with a lot more facts and evidence because we can't live in a country with a lot of politicization of issues. Let's be a lot more patriotic. We can have our political orientations, political affiliations, political ideologies, but on issues of nationalism, let's put the politics aside and deal with that. Okay. This morning on the news.
Philemon, we are done with that.
Yeah, but otherwise,
be that as it may, this is your opinion of mistrust in the Ghana Police Service.
Yeah, absolutely, and
they're doing their work.
So, and I'm saying, there are examples.
Let me make my point, and then you can come in.
Lack of integrity.
Great. So what I'm saying to you is that you cannot make a very general blanket statement that the police service is not to be trusted.
On this matter, they cannot be trusted because there are several examples.
Your experience.
Yes. And there are several examples.
And our viewers are
based on the fact that the Ghana Police Service has time without number lied to the people of this country and they have been exposed. That's the fact I'm making.
Philemon, when I give you the chance to talk, I let you go. So when I'm speaking or the other guest is speaking, you have to let us also speak.
You don't give me time.
Okay, otherwise I will not come back to you.
You don't give me time.
The News Center.
You know, so the News Center, the front page says, First Sky Group chairman makes strong case for renewable energy. That is Mr. Sedi Kutoji. And then water bodies getting cleaner in central region due to security operations against Galamsey, Ghana Water Company Limited. Ghana records first case of mpox in Western region. Eurobond debt exchange achieves 98% participation. But I think that I'm interested in the water bodies getting cleaner, because that's the major issue that is happening around now. So raw water sources from Setrehiman water treatment plant are seeing a significant improvement, with turbidity levels dropping to an average of 9,000 NT units, which is the nephelomeric turbidity unit,
yeah,
down from the previous high of 14 NTU. This reduction has resulted in a substantial increase in water production, rising from over 1.9 million gallons per day to over 2.7 million gallons per day, according to the Ghana Water Company Limited. Ghana Water Company Limited provided this update to the residents of Cape Coast, Elmina, and nearby communities, assuring them of the ongoing efforts to improve water supply. The improvement has been attributed to the work of the Central Regional Security Council, led by the Regional Minister, Mrs. Justina Marigold Hassan. In a statement, Ghana Water Company Limited pledged to keep the public informed of any significant changes to the raw materials quality that could affect the water supply.
Okay.
They also expressed an appreciation for the support from the Regional Security Council in addressing water challenges in the region. The water company urged residents to use water wisely as they continue to make efforts to ensure a consistent and adequate water supply. I mean, sweetie, this is really clear that the government of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is addressing these issues of illegal mining. Where government does good, we must commend government, because you see, government is a continuum. And I commend government. I commend the regional minister, Madam Justina Marigold Hassan. I commend the Regional Security Council. I also commend the Ghana Water Company Limited for ensuring that these water levels are doing well and the gallons are increasing, and really being truthful to the matter. You know, sweetie, for the rest of our lives, the only thing that will stand posterity is that we leaders, we commentators, we politicians remain truthful and remain honest. We must be truthful, we must be honest in our discourse as we engage in our politics. And I commend this as well. And I'm very certain that there is going to be a ripple effect of issues across the various...
So this is for the Setrehiman...
Yes, Setrehiman water treatment plant.
So just that, right?
For now, yes, for now.
Okay.
Just that.
So we cannot say our water bodies, all our water bodies are clearing up.
No, but
I'm just clarifying. It's not an argument.
No, I'm
We've
not
got
saying,
the story, I've got your
yes,
submission. I'm just clarifying that this is only for the Setrehiman power processing.
Absolutely, okay. Yes. But then you see, sweetie, there are major hotspots where turbidity is high.
Yes.
It's not a nationwide issue.
Yes.
There are major hotspots. So if you begin to see that some of the major hotspots are beginning to get cleaner, I mean, it's important that you say that. And so that is what we are both saying. So you're agreeing with me that there are major hotspots and the water is getting cleaner.
Right. I'll come to you, Barrister, in a bit, but let me welcome aboard the Secretary for the Independent Committee of the CPP.
We've been confirmed by the National Executive Council. So we are no more an independent committee. We are now the national leadership.
You're now the national leadership of the CPP.
Yes.
So that makes you the national
28.
secretary
of
the CPP.
Yes.
Congratulations and welcome aboard, although you're late.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
It's okay. So I'll come to you in a bit. I just wanted to introduce you into the conversation. Barrister.
Yes.
A lot more.
Yeah, we have to get
Curiously, it is Daily Guide you've given me. Daily Guide. So the story I see that...
Why Daily Guide?
I'm just saying that it is Daily Guide you've given me. But the story I see that's very important is the fact that the unfolding environmental catastrophe, the dangers of Galamsey in Ghana, and this is written by Abdulhai Momin, your brother of the Inky, now with the UDS. He concludes by saying that the menace of Galamsey is not just a threat to Ghana's environment, it is a threat to the very future of the country. The government, security agencies, and civil society must work together to address the root causes of illegal mining, empower local communities, and hold those who break the law accountable. And that is the commitment of the NDC. The NDC comes on the back of ensuring that the young people of this country are helped to mine sustainably. We have always maintained that the real issue about the pollution of our water are those people, the politically exposed people, Wuntumi and Sampine and all of those MPP people who have been given licenses to mine in forest reserves. They are those who contribute substantially to the menace of Galamsey. There are those who contribute, and the NDC is saying that we shall, to the best extent possible, the NDC will not allow appointees to hold mining licenses. That is a commitment.
Okay.
Can MPP say that? They have rather given licenses to their appointees who are
what's
in clear
the story actually?
It's called the unfolding environmental catastrophe, the dangers of Galamsey in
It's
Ghana.
an editorial, is it not?
No, it's a story
Okay.
by Abdulhai Mobin.
Okay. Thank you for that. Kwame Nkrumah,
Yes.
welcome aboard.
Thank you.
We've done a lot of stories. We've talked about Galamsey, our water bodies clearing up. We've talked about Eurobond forgiving Ghana $5 billion debt. We've also spoken about street lights disappearing for the vanishing on our streets. But I'll give you a minute, tops 2 minutes, to give me, walk us through your, what's it called? What's top of your mind, and then we'll come back to the actual stories. I know whatever it is, will have something to do with the national issues that we're discussing.
Yes. Top of my mind are 3 issues, which is the Galamsey issue, the streetlights issue, and also the sale of bungalows to private developers, which can be found on page 10 of the Ghanaian publisher. And I think that it is very unacceptable what happens at times where you have state properties of schools being sold to private developers. My alma mater, Chimota School, we suffered terribly when private developers took over our school farms. And over here, you see the Chief Justice, Her Ladyship Justice Gertrude Tokonu, stating that it is unacceptable for the Lands Commission to justify selling state land, bungalows and lands to private developers under the pretense of urban redevelopment schemes. This is a statement that echoes loudly throughout the country. And it is a statement that I believe will change the land tenure system in this country. I, apart from being a politician, I also do a little bit of land cases. And sometimes there are a lot of problems with some of the officials, not all, some of the officials of the Lands Commission engaging in certain unacceptable behavior. And I would want to commend the Chief Justice for this statement. And I'm sure it's going to be a game changer in our land tenure system from now on. And secondly, regarding the Galamsey issue, I was reading the headlines on my way here, and I was happy to see that some of the water bodies are getting cleaner. And I would want to commend the youth of this country and others, my own friend Oliver, and all those who have taken the bull by the horns and then brought this Galamsey issue to the fore. Because even if you look at our 2020 manifesto of the CPP, 2016 manifesto, all our manifestos always harp on the environment. We are a party which believes that a clean environment is very important to develop the country. And this is very simple, because a few years ago, I read in a few places that the next world war will be fought about water. And I thought it was something that was funny. But if this Galamsey issue is not dealt with speedily, we may have mayhem in this country. And I'm glad that the NPP government is sitting up and trying to do what they have to do. Of course, I have to admit that the other parties had to push them. They had to be pushed.
So you think the government is doing the needful then?
Well, what I'm seeing in the papers, in the media, is that they are trying to do something. But of course, we have to go on the ground. This I have to admit, this is the first time I'm seeing this about the water bodies getting cleaner. But we'll go on the ground and do our
For clarity, again, I don't want us to, sell this narrative that the water bodies are clearing up, because there's a lot more to be done.
Yes,
okay, it is just the Setrahiman water processing, is it power processing or water processing?
Water processing plant.
Yes. That's the only one that we have. The story actually reports that it's clearing up. So it's not our water bodies.
Yes.
No, but
so let's not make it sound as if
when government is doing something that is commendable,
it's a start.
Commend what government is doing.
Yeah.
Commend what government is doing. It's as though in this country people always wish doom and don't want anything good coming out from a government. the water body is Setrehiman that impacts St. Cape Coast, Elmina, and the environs are getting cleaner.
And you're saying
clear.
it's because government
Absolutely.
did it.
Absolutely.
How did government contribute to the water clearing up over there?
Don't we have a regional minister who has RESEC?
So how?
Isn't it clear? No, but you see, when it appears as though if you say that the water bodies are getting cleaner, what is wrong with that? There's nothing
What's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong in saying that
sends
the
out the
water bodies
message
are
as
getting
if
cleaner.
the fight need not be as
No,
aggressive
that is not
as
what
it
we're
is.
saying. No, that's not
because
what we're
people
saying.
are still out in the streets.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that the government hasn't done anything.
Yes, but it's almost like every time people want to paint a picture of doom.
Oh, but that's not what we're doing.
No, yes, I don't want us to do that.
The failures of this government are your opponents to use in this political season.
No, but the success of this government as well.
And it is yours for you to speak about.
Absolutely, but let's speak also about our successes. We have achieved a lot of successes.
Exactly. So
Yes,
I'm not
and this
saying
is a
that. I'm not saying that it's not a. Yes, please, we have to go. Kwame, I'll come to you in a bit.
What exactly the government may have?
I'll come to you in a bit.
Let's be careful about rented press.
Barrister, I'll come to you in a bit.
All right, you come to me, right?
Please wrap your thoughts, Toby.
They may be doing something, but it is too little, too late. Too little, too late. They have proven to the Ghanaian people that they do not have the environment at heart. They may be experts at other areas of governance, but when it comes to the environment, the NPP has failed woefully. And we know that the discerning electorate know the track record of the CPP when it comes to the environment.
I don't know if you can say they failed when you said Poto. They're planting trees. Well, anyway.
No, but how many trees?
That's your time, please. Yes. So, Barrister Philemon La,
you see,
give me a wrap of your
NPP
thoughts.
cannot take credit for anything because they have done nothing on the issue of Galamsey. And I'm saying that if they had done anything, they would have met the ultimatum by the TUC. If they had done anything, they would have directly addressed the concerns of the president of the GJA. If they had done anything, they would have come out to say that the youth of this country are protesting in very loud voices that something be done about Galamsey. The silence of the president represents the record of this NPP government, and that record is a record of silence, a record of inefficiency.
As we sit here this morning, we cannot say, can we say, let me ask,
speaking based
that
on the facts
silent.
available, sweetie.
Government spokesperson just told us,
and
we saw that he'd met organized labor.
And organized labor, I listened to organized labor.
There's been a meeting.
Organized labor told the president that they would accept nothing short than a withdrawal of that LI that allows NPP people to mine in forest reserves. They have said that. They have said they demand nothing but a certain solid approach towards the fight against Galamsey. We have not seen any solid fight on the fight against Galamsey by this NPP government. That's a fact. So the NPP government cannot take record of anything. Look, the waters are polluted. Doctor, I put it to you that it is possible that the water you bath today may have been laced with mercury.
And that's your time.
May have been laced with mercury, Doc.
I'll wrap with you because you're just coming. Yes. Doc, give me a wrap of your thoughts. We have a couple of minutes.
I have a story here on page 8 by the Minister for Information, and she reaffirms, the Honorable Hajia Fatima Abubakar reaffirms government's commitment to improving access to information. You recall that this week UNESCO had the IDEA conference, and there were a lot of countries that participated in that, and I'm glad that Ghana is leading in RTI and setting up as a model for the rest of the African continent.
Okay, thank you. Kwame Nkrumah, you have the final word.
Thank you, Suti. I would want to say that in as much as we seem to have some chaos regarding the current situation with the demonstrators and the police, I would want to emphasize that we as a CPP, we still have faith in the police service of this country. And be that as it may, we would also want to plead with the judiciary that they should do their best when these protesters come before them to temper justice with mercy. Because I know that bail is discretionary, but they should look at their what you'd call the mens rea. The mind behind the demonstration was not, I would say they didn't do it in bad faith. They had a reason for doing the demonstration. Certain things may have gone wrong during the demonstration. So we we would say, I mean, there may have been some violence and pushing down of barriers and throwing of car keys, but let's look at the fact that they may have been carried away, but their intention was not to cause mayhem. So we'll plead with the judiciary to have some mercy on them and grant all of them bail.
That's refreshing to hear that, you know, at least you have trust in the Ghana Police Service and all that. But right before I go, if I don't do this, Benjamin will have my head. So Gideon Boako, I think your party member, made a post that he deleted within, what, minutes? And I just want to put that in about 10 seconds, your quick reflections on that. And he says, hypocrisy is when we gloss over the polluted Odo River and Koli Lagoon in Accra, but demonstrate over a polluted Pra or Tano River outside Accra. Hashtag equal attention. What did you make of that, Philemon La? In 10 seconds, please. We have to go.
Well, I think that obviously the deletion of that post shows that he knows he messed up. And he messed up because that's the spokesperson to the vice president.
Yes.
And what he says is a reflection of what the vice president thinks and means. Because he speaks for the vice president.
You cannot say that.
I can say that.
10 seconds, that's it. You said he deleted it because he thinks it was a mistake.
So MPP are not committed to the fight against Galamsey.
Thank you. Kwame Nkrumah, what do you make of that
important
post?
issues?
Well, I think it is true that, honestly, I agree with this post. I wouldn't say it is hypocrisy per se. I wouldn't say it is hypocrisy that we all... But the thing is that we don't draw our drinking water out of the lagoon.
Thank you. That's your time.
Yes.
Doc.
You know, I'm wondering why you are reading a statement that has been deleted.
But he put it out.
No, but I'm wondering. I mean,
and it's on a national issue.
No, but
it's on record.
You see, I'm wondering how...
He said hypocrisy.
You don't need to
trying
restate
to
it.
insinuate that.
You don't need to restate it. All I'm trying to say is that the integrity of the platform does not permit us to discuss an issue that someone has put out and deleted.
This is a political actor.
No, I don't think
commenting
so.
on a national issue.
But
that's how we're wrapping up for the news review segments on the AM show this morning. My guests joining me in the studio, we have Kwame Nkrumah Botio, that's General Secretary now of the CPP. We also have Barrister Philemon Lam. He's from the NDC Communications team, as well as government spokesperson on governance and security, Dr. Palgrave Boakye Dankwa. Gentlemen, thank you so much for having breakfast with us this morning.
Thank you.
Coming up next is AM Sports. Because it's a Friday, we are bringing you Prime Take with Nielamte van der Poy. Enjoy.